David Moyes' Hammers side hit the trip across to West London to the Brentford Community Stadium, where we take on a Brentford side that are sat just a point below the Hammers in the Premier League table. Thomas Frank this year is without Ivan Toney, of course, due to the betting ban, and did lose his goalkeeper David Raya at the start of the season. They've adapted quite well, and they're a side that always seem to turn up and put in a decent performance against West Ham. They're always a side with energy, with attacking flair. And I just hope this afternoon David Moyes has a plan to counteract, to stop, and to get 3 points against a decent Brentford side. I hope you are all well. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. This is the Build Up and Team News Show. We are less than 13 minutes away from seeing the official lineup that David Moyes is putting out this afternoon. We are, of course, without Lucas Paquetá, and we are without Edson Alvarez as well. So that's two key absentees for this game. And I just hope, as I said, Moyes has a plan to sort of fill those holes and continue some of the confidence that we got from knocking Arsenal out of the Carabao Cup on Wednesday night. I'm delighted to say I've got a guest joining me, Ginger Andy Carroll. Curtis, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not bad at all. We spoke before the Arsenal game, and not many people had much confidence and optimism. And just scoping the fan base's thoughts on Twitter this morning, it seems like not many people have confidence for this, despite Wednesday. How are you feeling?
I think I'm on that same bandwagon, but the only thing that's bringing me up a little is the fact we were like this when we went away to Brighton, and we never got anything from Brighton in 6 years at the Amex. So we've already broke that curse. Can we break another curse? So I'm optimistic, but I'm also realistic at the same time that Brentford are a good side. They can do damage. I mean, we've said it before. Their front attackers are fast, direct, strong. They will cause us a lot of problems. So again, I think the midfield, the wingers, I just hope they haven't used all their energy on Wednesday against Arsenal, and they just come with that same energy, just pressing high, get in their face, hard, strong, physical, and just play our football. And let's try and at least get a draw.
For sure. Yeah, I'd snatch your hand off for a point right now. We don't historically do well there in the league. We've had some pretty flat performances since they've been promoted to the Premier League at their stadium. So look, yeah, we've just got to go out there, bringing the confidence in. I mean, we can't get much worse than Manchester United, really, can we? They're still level at Craven Cottage. Garnacho chucked his shirt into the crowd at half time, which was interesting. He has come back out in the second half, I thought, but he just decided to chuck his shirt into the Fulham crowd, which is extremely bizarre. But it's still goalless at Craven Cottage. VAR controversy at the forefront there once again. Let's see who we've got watching in the chat. Norman, thank you very much indeed for joining us. ASOXO, thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's got to be Mavropanos and Kara at DM. Now, there's been some debate about this because obviously without Alvarez as the number 6, somebody else is going to have to play that position. I suggested Souček. Some other people have suggested Mavropanos. A few people, and somebody put it on Twitter earlier actually, that Kara has played that role before as well. I mean, Kara's can't be up to much sharpness, surely. He hasn't played a game all year in the Premier League. Do you think Moyes might be coming at us with a bit of a surprise today in that sense, or do you think? I mean, for me, the obvious option would be to put Souček in there, but do you think he might be a bit rogue and mix things up a bit, guys?
Well, the thing is, we've got no Paqueta either, so my obvious ones would be Ward-Prowse and Souček as your two in the midfield. But yeah, you never know with David Moyes. I mean, we can all see what we need to happen. But somehow David Moyes sees something different. And although we shouldn't be shocked at seeing some random rogue-like personnel tactics and formations and selections, you just never know what he's going to do. So when's the team out? in
9,
8 minutes.
9, 8 or 9 minutes. Yeah. So
Yeah, so well, time will tell. But our obvious choices would be Souček and Ward-Prowse, if you
yeah.
ask me. And then you can, with no Paqueta, you can have someone else come in for that number 10 role. You've got the likes of Kudus, Bowen, and Benrahma can play all behind Antonio, let's say. If Antonio don't play and we choose to go for Bowen up top again and Kudus out on the right, you've got Fornals to come into that position. You could even have Fornals and Souček with James Ward-Prowse as the number 10. So there is options there. So I think he will go for Antonio up front. You know, Moyes likes that. Bowen back out in his position. Kudus maybe out wide or central, and then Benrahma vice versa.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see, because I mean the main sort of concern that people have is where's the creativity going to come from in that midfield, barring Mohamed Kudus, if we're being totally honest, without Paqueta in there. That's the main concern. I mean, yeah, the two options that we've got there is either start, as you said, Bowen up front, and then maybe Kudus on the right, Benrahma on the left, Ward-Prowse 10, Antonio start Bowen on the right, and then probably Kudus in the middle, and Benrahma on the left. I'd start. I'd get Benrahma into this team today. If it was me, against his former club. He was okay the other night. Just give the lad a bit of confidence. What's the point in playing him Wednesday, him doing okay, and then dropping him again, because he is a player that plays off confidence. And as I said, against his former club, I mean, he hasn't got a point to prove, because they still love him there at Brentford, but still against his former club, you fancy him today, and I'd expect to see him out on the left-hand side. Let's see who else is joining us in the chat. Pete, thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's going to be Mavropanos, yeah, as I said, Kera in that DM role. Yeah, I don't know. Not too sure what he will do. We'll find out.
I'll come back to the comment I made on Wednesday, Jake, about I'd even play Antonio out on the left wing and start Bowen up top and then Kudus out on the right and Benrahma central.
Right,
that's another option, but I don't think David Moyes thinks like us. He liked running in the channels, like I said Wednesday. So just stick him on the wing. That you want to play up front, but you run into the channels. You used to be a winger, so you can still run in the channels where you run anyway. So play him out there. He's quick, he's strong. He can get back and defend, because we've got. I don't think we've got Emerson either, have we? Or is he back now?
No, yeah, he's back. Yeah,
he's back. All right, so that's all right then. He doesn't have to get back even more to help Creswell, who's about 90 odd, and legs are gone. But yeah, I think that's another option that we could look at. But I don't think David Moyes sees it like that.
There's been speculation in the last couple of days about the lineup and who picked that lineup on Wednesday night. There's been reports that suggest that it was Heitinga, however you say his name, the assistant manager that's come in over the summer. It was his proposal to start that formation and system on Wednesday night, and it seemed to work. I don't know what Moyes is going to do today, because he could really prove a point and stick with it. Listen, I've said in build-up shows, in previews and whatever, that if it's not broke, don't fix it, Moyes. And it's not broke, and I think he should stick with what worked on Wednesday. Because I mean, if Moyes has sat back over the last 2 days, if you try and get into David Moyes' head, he's sat in his office, he's looked back, he's played a certain way with Antonio up front against Villa, against Olympiacos, and against Everton, and we've been dreadful in all 3 games. All of a sudden, you just make a few minor tweaks, a couple of changes to personnel in the forward line, and then we play like that, and we beat, yes, a B team, but a good Arsenal team that is worth more on paper than our team. So surely, if common sense prevails here, then Moyes could or should stick with the system and the personnel who's available that we played on Wednesday night.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, it's that obvious saying again: if it's not broke, don't fix it. However, it's a cup game, and he likes the Premier League. He likes to prioritise the Premier League. Will that be in his thinking of with the Premier League games that you said about with the Villa and the Everton? 90% of those players were the same players that played anyway, and they just did not perform. Whether it was because they didn't understand what Moyes wanted to do, his style, his tactics, whether they, a bit of both, that they got outclassed as well. But they just looked clueless. They didn't know what to do in attack, which happens quite a lot. They get to that final third and the players don't read each other. The pass is wayward, it's overhit, underhit. they hang on to it too long, turn back, go back to the defence, and it just seems like in that sort of attacking third and going forward, sometimes we're a bit lackluster and clueless with ideas. But has Moyes now used Wednesday night with, like I said, being in 90% of the same personnel that he's chose in the previous games? Can he now use that and think, you know what, minor little tweaks here and there, I can make this better, add in a few more players. Obviously, we've got no Alvarez, no Paqueta, bring in some others. They're going to be massive misses, to be fair, because Alvarez was solid the other night, and Paqueta is a showman and a talisman. However, he has had a few minor hiccups in the last few games, but it would be solely missed. But now Moyes has just got to do something. He's got to do the job that he's paid to do. He wants to coach. He is a coach. He is a manager. These are the problems you've got to face. These are what you get paid big bucks for. So Moyes, it's now on you, mate.
For sure. We're less than 3 minutes away from the lineups being released. We're going to talk a little bit about Kurt Zouma and his expected not inclusion in today's game. But before we do that, if you think your Saturday's been not the best so far, just a word for the Arsenal under-18s bus manager, bus driver. They were away at Brighton today, but the game has been postponed because the bus driver drove to Bournemouth instead of driving to Brighton. So the games had to be postponed. It's like 90 miles down the south coast. So he's probably getting the sack, whether he's been there 2 minutes or 30 years. They drove to Bournemouth, not Brighton, a mistake that can easily be made, and a word goes out to him today because that was mildly amusing. Kurt Zouma, not expected to be involved today, Curtis, because of an injury that he picked up, I presume, at the end of the Everton game or in training. So Mavropanos would be expected to keep his place?
I think so. I think he should. He was superb the other night.
Yeah.
He's another player that needs a run of games. Like we said on Wednesday, how do you expect a player to get match fitness and match sharpness if they're not playing? And just playing a few minutes here and there or in cup games every other week or once in a month or something. We know what Moyes is like. He'll probably, and we know what Kurt Zouma's like. He's played a lot of games where he's been injured, had knocks, and he still plays. And he goes down every single game. And you think, oh, Zouma's going to be out there for another 6 months. And he gets up and starts playing again. But if he is injured and he's not included in the matchday squad, I'd bring Mavropanos straight away. I think Moyes got confused with Kurtz this morning because I received a text message saying, do you mind replacing Kurt Zouma? I think he's got my number mistaken with someone else. But yeah, Mavropanos should be starting all day long if Zouma's not fit.
We have the lineup, and I'm going to bring it up onto the screen now. Mikel Antonio does start the game, as probably we all deep down expected, and the lineup is coming up onto the screen very, very shortly when I adjust the screens. Here we go then, and there it is. It reads: Areola, Soufal, Mavropanos, Agerd, Emerson, Ward-Prowse captains the side. Souček, Kudus, Benrahma, Bowen and Antonio. Before I say anything, I think that's incredibly harsh on Jarrod Bowen, who I think probably should be captain for this game. But James Ward-Prowse has been given the armband. More on that on a second. But Soufal, Mavropanos, Agerd, Emerson, that's probably what we expected. And then the midfield of Ward-Prowse and Souček, and another one, probably Kudus. Benrahma out on the left, Bowen on the right, and Mikel Antonio down the middle. Deep down, that's probably what we all expected, Curtis.
Yeah, I mean, I called it, and there are options during the game. If it doesn't work, you can move a lot of those players around. Like I said, you can move Antonio out. Well, Moyes won't do that though. But you can move Benrahma, Kudus. Not so much Bowen, because he's either a wide right or a centre forward sort of player. It is not, but there is positions that he will play in this sort of system. Whereas Kudus can play anywhere across them, free and up top. Benrahma can play central, out wide. So there are room for switching it up during the game if it's not going a certain way, or if a certain player is being doubled up on, or do you know what I mean? If we can see weaknesses in their fullbacks, we can put Mohamed Kudus out wide and let him run at fullbacks and try and see if we can get some joy down the wings. So yeah, I mean, that's a pretty strong team. Well expected. Mavropanos rightfully comes in. Guerdin, Emerson, Soufal, our strongest fullbacks. Ward-Prowse, Souček. I think that was obvious on paper. They're our number ones to come in for that CDM sort of role, without bringing in the youngsters or without bringing in someone like Fornals and playing him out of position, being a CDM or a CM. So I think they're your obvious choices. Overall, with what we've got available, I think that's quite fair.
Yeah, I agree. Let's take some of your comments. Johnny Mac says you can't play Ward-Prowse and Souček together. That is a gateway to disaster. We need three in the middle with them playing. There was a concern playing a two-man midfield may get overrun. So you'd expect Kudus to be just in the top of maybe a triangle in the midfield three, playing that Paqueta role when Paqueta's in the middle. Well, I suppose Kudus has been playing that role, really, hasn't he, in recent weeks, in that number 10 when Paqueta's been out on the left. Obviously, Ben Rama is out there against his former club today. Let's take some of your comments. I'd like to see us play a 4-4-2 or even a 3-4-3. Well, unfortunately not, Pete. That's not what Moyes has gone for. Scroll down on some of your comments and see what you guys are saying. Pete says, I like Antonio, but his age holds him back and he can't hold the ball and turn a defence anymore. He has passed it now for me. He should be a sub. Antonio starts equals a defeat, says Peter. Thank you very much indeed for joining me, mate. Peter's not sure if that's a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. Well, that is a good point, actually. What would you interpret that as, guys? 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3.
I'd say that's a 4-2-3-1. He's always likes that sort of formation. So
yeah,
I personally probably wouldn't play a 4-2-3-1. Just trying to work out what I'll do with those players. I'd probably play a 4-1-2-3-1, and have Souček in front of the back four, and then maybe having Kudus and Ward-Prowse as your CMs, but in defensive, you'll have Ward-Prowse and Souček side by side.
Yeah.
With your wingers pulling back, and then Kudus doing the doggy sort of running in the middle, and then Antonio getting back as well. And then obviously in transition, when they've got the ball just inside their own half or whatever, we just press as a four. You can't just have one or two players pressing, because that's when they take the mick out of you and start knocking it about you, and then all of a sudden you're out of position, and then they find little pockets, little gaps in between the lines. So
the issue with the lack of press that we have, with Mikel Antonio in their side, is we did it effectively on Wednesday night, sorry, because they went in packs and because they were strategic about it. When, our idea of pressing with Mikel Antonio up front is Antonio will jog around a bit, maybe one will burst up as well, and then it's so pedestrian and predictable. It just puts no pressure on. Whereas on Wednesday, Arsenal were rattled at one point, and that's what we don't do with Antonio up front. And we need to do it. I mean, you won't find any other team in the Premier League that doesn't press apart from us.
Exactly, yeah. And the thing that frustrates me when I watch and I see we've got, let's say we've got a free, and then Antonio's in front, and then he will do the running towards like the left back, then centre back, then the right back.
He'll do all of it.
And then all of a sudden they're playing around him, and you've got our three players sitting on the halfway line.
Yeah.
And they don't know whether to push. They don't know. But what you need to do is, when one person goes and he's on the opposite side of the pitch, let's say like he's on the left-hand side of the pitch, the right side, Owen, should then push in and go towards centre to close them two down. And then Antonio then drop back central to cover him. And everyone just spread. And you just, basically, it's so basic and so easy. You just work as a team. You just shuffle over every time. And then, depending on the position on the pitch, one goes and then another one will fill in, and then someone else can go and join them. But you'll always keep the shape as well that way, because I think that's
you do wonder what they do in training, don't you? All week, you do honestly wonder what they do.
Well, that's what they get paid all that money for, same as Moyes. And surely Moyes isn't that stupid just to go, right, I just want you defensive when we've not got the ball. Like, surely you can press and still be defensive, and you can. But I've tried explaining it there. It's so easy. So easy if you work as a team and you work together. and all you have to do is just shuffle over, someone else will drop back in, so you've still got that shape, but everyone does a bit, not the same person going round and round and round, and then his legs going so early in the game.
Yeah, no, I agree. Johnny Mack says the key is for the players to move around on their own, like they did the other night, and there needs to be an element of fluctuation and interchange, as Johnny says it. Yeah, there will be an element of that because of the personnel that we've got there. You know, Kudus and Ben Rama maybe might switch over at some point. Bowen and Antonio might even switch over at a certain point in the game as well. Wally says this, but right, let's talk about this. Is Bowen not interested in being captain? Obviously, Zuma's our captain, but he's unavailable. I would have expected it to go to Jared Bowen. Who do you reckon? Do you reckon there was a discussion, or do you reckon Moyes just gave it to Ward-Prowse and said that's that?
I don't know, because for me, a defender, if it's not going to be the keeper, defender's got the second best view on the pitch.
Yeah.
So 9 times out of 10, your central defender is normally a captain, or should be a captain, because they can see what's going on. They've got, like I said, the second best view other than the keeper. A midfielder can see everything. With Bowen, if he's going to be playing facing their goal, he's not going to be seeing much, and he's got a big task and a big pressure on his shoulders as it is.
True.
Whether he got asked and he was like, do you know what, I prefer just to play my game on this one, I want to be on it, blah blah blah, or whether it's because Ward-Prowse was a captain at Southampton, he's got that captain materialisation, he's got experience of being a captain and a leader. And to be honest, you don't need an armband to talk. You've got 11 of you, you all talk to each other, you all command each other, and you all demand each other. So for me, it's, well, in Sunday League, I think they do the coin toss behind closed doors. But for me, a captain is the person that goes to the centre circle, shakes their captain's hand and the referee's hand, and goes, "Yeah, I'll have heads, please, and I'll have that end first, or I'll have kickoff." But yeah, everyone can talk. Yeah, but I think it's because Ward-Prowse has got experience there, so I think that's why they give it to him.
Probably. Benny to score today, back at his old stomping ground, of course, in West London. Do you think, obviously, this game means a little bit more to him today? And I mean, I know it's against his football club, but he's got a point to prove as well. He spent some time on the bench in the Premier League. He proved himself reasonably well on Wednesday night against Arsenal. This is a real moment now, an opportunity for Ben Rama to shove it back into Moyes' face.
Well, this is what it's all about. If you spend some time on the bench, it's because you're not playing to the best of your ability, and now he's got a chance with better being suspended. You've got a chance now to come into the starting lineup and go, do you know what? I'm going to show the manager, I'm going to show the fans that I deserve to be in this starting lineup. Yes, it's against his old team, which may go one of two ways. It may make him go shy and into hiding because he has respect for him, or he may go, do you know what? I'm going to show them as well. I'm going to put a performance on for West Ham fans, but also put a show on for the Brentford fans of what they've missed. So yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for Ben Rama. As we say, we've seen it so many times where a player does so well in a midweek game or a cup game, come to Premier League on a Saturday and Sunday and get dropped. And that does nothing for the player's mentality. And he's the sort of player that needs an arm around him, needs to be loved and shown something. So hopefully he's on it today, Ben Rama, and he can do something.
Let's hope so. Let's have a little look at some of these comments. Peter says, can't have Olgina squad anyway. Let's have a look who was on the subs bench today. Fabianski, Ogbonna, Kera, Fornals, Ings, Cornet, Creswell, Mubama makes a bench, and Ben Johnson. Johnson hasn't been there for a while. I just haven't noticed his name there. I don't know. So obviously attacking options you've got there. I don't count Ings as an attacking option because he's just not. Fornals, Cornet, and Mubama. Nice to see Mubama back on the bench. That's just a mystery why he wasn't in the squad on Wednesday night. But I mean, it's regulation. Nobody's missing there apart from Kurt Zuma from the whole squad. Really, I don't think.
But to be honest, I'm looking at that bench and I'm like, wow, we've got no one that can come on and change a game. No one of late that's shown anything that can come on. I mean, on paper, Cornet's a decent player, Fornals is a decent player. You'd expect them to come on and do something. But they don't get game time. I mean, Cornet, we said on Wednesday, he's had a lengthy injury and he's found it hard to get back into that starting lineup or even the squad or even get some minutes as a sub. He's another player that's had 5 minutes here and there. It's just it's not ideal for any sort of player, let alone someone that's coming back from injury and that we know is good enough, because just before his injury, he showed signs of what he could be like. He wasn't up to capability of how he was against with Burnley, but he was showing signs, trying to adapt to a new team, coming to us. And then he get that horrific injury that puts him out for however long it was, 9 months or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, awful.
So on paper, you could say 4 hours if he really wants it, wants to show anything. We don't know what's happened behind closed doors. He's sort of deteriorated a little, whether it's something to do with the contract, whether it's because he wants to leave, whether it's he's had a conversation with someone behind closed doors, i.e. Moyes, that just doesn't rate him anymore. But Mbama is another one. He needs to be given his chance. But they're the only 3 that I'm seeing on the bench that I'm like, they're not game changers. That's the problem we've got at the minute. But they're the only 3 players on the bench that can come on and try and do something if they put their mind to it and they're on it.
100%. Oh yeah, for sure. You know, that's the worrying thing with just 2 absentees. You look at that bench all of a sudden and go, Jesus Christ, there's nothing there that's gonna at all come on and have full faith in, you know, he's gonna be the game changer. He's gonna come on and grab a goal or change the game in a positive manner. You just can't see it, can you? And that's where I think again January is going to be interesting. Of course, the first round of transfer rumours have begun with that link to the Feyenoord striker that X has reported. But I mean, we said we've got a decent squad going into it. Yeah,
you've got 3 central defenders. No, sorry, you've got 2 central defenders and 2 fullbacks.
Yeah, so you've got 4 defenders and a keeper on the bench.
Exactly, and 2 of those defenders are old now.
Yeah.
In football terms, anyway, you got another one of those centre fullbacks doesn't really want a bit, or he's just not good enough. That needs to be replaced in Ben Johnson. I was going to say Glenn Johnson. Then Ben Johnson needs to be replaced. Ogbonna is going to be retiring at the end of the season probably. Creswell hasn't got it in him anymore. So there's 3 players that you need to replace straight away. So you need at least another centre back. You need another fullback, ideally that can play both sides. Because Ben Johnson can play both sides. He's filled in for both sides, but he's just not good enough. And then you could arguably replace the other defender for another striker. So then when you've got the players like Alvarez and Paqueta back, you've then got a solid bench of good players and people that can come in and change a game. Yeah. So I think that needs to be addressed. And we've been saying this for years, for the past 4, 5, 6 transfer windows. This needs to be addressed, and it's not been addressed. Yeah. You need to get rid of the deadwood and get in some younger, hungry, solid players that we can use the bench and use the first 11, and it be strong all round. Not be like a Man City that can put out a complete different 11 and still compete in the Premier League. But have a bench of 7 players, 7 outfield players that can actually come on and play in the Premier League and do a job.
Yeah. Oh, it's really not a difficult feat to say, you know what, I want us to have some game changers, even if it's just like 2 or 3, just to have some people that we can comfortably say that can come off of that bench and cause problems. But it is what it is. Right, we're going to take some of the comments and then we're going to have a little tactical look at this lineup and move some players around and have a little gander at that before we wrap things up. But first, let's take some of your comments. Antonio will score today. You watched. I hope you are right. I hope you're right. Thank you very much indeed, Mark, for the £10 donation to the channel. That's greatly appreciated. Huge game today. Come on your lines. It certainly is. And hopefully the boys can put in a performance today. Let's see what else you were saying. Pete Gaz says, I can't see Moyes changing his tactics from when they won at the London Stadium, preparing for 30% possession game. Yeah, that goes without saying, doesn't it? That's what it's going to be. And the one thing I will say is Brentford are a side that are probably going to come out and at home go for it a little bit more. I think the only game I've watched of Brentford this year was the opening day when there was that 2-2 draw against Spurs, and it was a really good and entertaining game, and both sides sort of went for it. So that might play into our hands today, Curtis.
Well, I mean, we all know what Brentford are like, especially going forward. And like I said earlier on, that they're attacking players, their front three or front four, quick, strong. Their play is strong from the back into midfield. The transition is fast. That's what's going to cause us problems, I think. And if we're not solid in defence today, and we're not solid working together as a bank of four and 3 or 4 in the middle as well, helping each other out, I think that will cause us problems. And we just got to hope that they're not firing on all cylinders today. So and then we've got to be quick and direct and get some shots off today and take our chances, because that's the only way we're going to beat them, is if they're not on it or we're solid defensively, or we take our chances at the other end if we can create chances.
Oh, 100%. We've got to take our chances today. They're fast, as you said, a fast, aggressive, and quick acting side that on the counter especially can really cause teams problems, and they have done ever since they came back up into the Premier League. Kudus should be up front and Antonio on the right. I think I got a feeling that there might be a switch at some point. Antonio might go out onto the wing. Either Kudus or Bowen might lead the line. Mr. Terry Newsham, thank you very much indeed for joining us. I hope you are well. I think Moyes is a Marmite manager. That's one way to describe him. I'm going 32% possession. It won't be far off that. Peter says, are there any odds on James Ward-Prowse not scoring a free kick for us all season? The one man in the whole of English football that is renowned for scoring free kicks. Just will come to West Ham. I won't
need
score a
one
free
more
kick.
to equal Beckham as well.
Really? Oh yeah, I did see that. So yeah. What's the chances that he goes and he doesn't score one throughout the rest of the season? That wouldn't surprise me. It feels like Benny always has a point to prove. He was arguably our best player last season. I mean, that's not a fantastic feat to have, because there wasn't very many good players last year. But he was
the one in the first half of the season where we were absolutely diabolical. He was the one that stood out from everyone else. That was a lot of people got on his back because he lost the ball a lot, but he was the one that got the ball a lot, wanted the ball a lot, and tried making something happen a lot. So if you think of that statistic, he's the one that had the ball a lot. Then obviously he's going to be the one that gives the ball away most of the time, because he's had it the most, and he's not going to be 100% ball retention stat. But yeah, in the first half of the season, he was the one that was trying to do it. He was the one that was trying to make something happen, even when we were falling so far down the pecking order in the league and our poor performances on and off the ball.
And even against Brighton at the start of this season, he didn't start the game against Brighton, but we were a little bit deep and we were a little bit camped into our own half. Brighton was starting to get a little bit on top. Stuchek goes off injured. Benrahma comes on, and he just pushed us up the pitch a bit. He got the ball on about 2 or 3 occasions, and he ran down that wing with no support at all, just to push us up the pitch a bit more. And I think he's a player that, exactly. And that, and that was a superb assist for the goals. But that was just one of the occasions that he did that against Brighton. And I think today he will have a point to prove as ever to get himself back into this lineup again. The bench looks a little bit lightweight, I guess, because we're missing some players. Yeah, missing a couple, but then I think it does sort of expose the frailty in this squad, to be honest with you. Not the numbers. The numbers are there, don't get me wrong, but the quality just isn't. That is the unfortunate part of it. Benny is too easy to mark. He will not go. He will not go to the byline. Always cuts in and passes back. Yeah, that's my one pet peeve, and that's my one criticism of Benrahma. He is predictable in what he does, but he offers something different. And I just hope that today he can find a spark and go well. Johnny says if he doesn't use Mubama today on the second half for Antonio, he may as well move. It sounds like he's going to at this point, to be honest with you. Peter says more chance of Fabianski coming on outfield than about 1 or 2 of them. Fair enough. Get your score predictions into the chat. We'll start reading them out very, very shortly. I've heard there are 5 missing. I will get up the Brentford lineup in just a second. So hold fire on that one.
Tony's not there.
Yeah, for sure. I struggle to see a positive result here as per Thursday night show. Any draw will do, of course. But Terry, they say You weren't too confident going into Wednesday's game, and look what happened. Mr. Adam Frankel, I hope you are keeping well. Sir, must be very early for you over in Texas, so hopefully you are okay, and everyone else having a little chat to each other as well. So yeah, 3 o'clock kickoff today, Saturday, 3 o'clock. Woo-hoo. Don't get many of them. But we're going to have a look at the Brentford lineup in a second. But first, let's have a little bit of a dissection of this lineup a little bit further. Then you cannot see that very well, but bear with me. I'm going to switch things up. Now, we sort of discussed it, Curtis, about where Souček here and where Ward-Prowse is going to play. So would you expect Ward-Prowse to be that little bit further up, probably assisting Kudus a bit more, and then having Souček sitting and sweeping as playing that Alvarez role just there?
If I'm honest, yes and no. Like, that's what should happen. Because Ward-Prowse then should cover in the midfield and give the ball and drive it a bit more to the next three. But we know that Souček can't do that role. He's a mobile, and I don't mean the Italian centre forward. He's just not agile, mobile at all. So he can't really do that without any sort of support. It's an hard one because we don't have that. I mean, that's the three that we want to play behind Antonio. Had we not had Antonio and Bowen went up top and Kudus went out wide, then we could have had Fornals in the number 10 role, and then you could have had him dropping in beside James Ward-Prowse where he is now, and had Souček where he is. But I mean, it crossed my head earlier, having that straight line through the middle of the pitch with 1-1 and then obviously the 3. I think that's a recipe for disaster because, like I said, if we lose that ball high up the pitch, they've got all that space out wide and then centrally for him to go pop, 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 and all of a sudden we'll find ourselves on the back foot just outside our box. And that can be frightening for a team like Brentford. I mean, they've got some decent players. I mean, look what they've done recently. But yeah, you would hope that someone would push up and drop in. And I don't think Kudus is the guy to be pulling out of that higher position to drop in deeper. I mean, he can do it, don't get me wrong. He's not the sort of player that you want to be doing that. You want to keep him as far up the pitch as possible. So when we play that ball in the transition or on the break or on the counter, he's the one that you want to pick up the ball and drive at players. But I think that's our only option is, or unless you just sit Kudus behind Antonio and have Bowen and Benrahma coming both down to support and just making that flat line, making 2 banks of 4. And then you can have Antonio and Kudus running side to side, or one right, one left, or Antonio going, like we explained earlier, Antonio going to press, and then someone from the right side going up to press, and then everyone shuffling around. And
so if we're feeling extra narrow and extra adventurous, maybe we could try something like that in or out of possession, as you've just said. So 2 blocks of 4, and then Antonio and Kudus, drifting about in these areas. But I'd expect us to start like this, probably. And out of possession, it's going to be these 2 sitting very deep. And then I just hope that Ward-Prowse can, or one of these 2 can get forward a bit more and help Kudus, because Kudus is going to be, picking up the ball from this area, spraying it off there, and probably assisting the drop down from Mikel Antonio as well. So again, I think we've got some tactical interest in this about how Moyes tells these players to go about it, because there could be varying formations, varying systems, different players in different positions. So tactically wise, it's one to keep an eye on today.
I mean, you could even swap Antonio and Kudus. In a defensive fault. You could keep Kudus further up, and then Antonio could be the one that drops in and helps out the midfield and does the dog work. I think that makes more sense, if I'm honest, because we know Antonio likes to battle. He likes to get back and defend and whatnot. And then when he does do that, we've got no one up top. Whereas if he swaps with Kudus, and Kudus is the one that stands higher up the pitch, and Antonio comes back and does what he can do, because don't forget he played left back, right back, wing back, left wing, right wing, in goal. He's played everywhere.
Yeah.
So he could potentially swap with Kudus and do that role on a defensive, and then when we transition and counter attack and regain possession, he's the one that's sitting back, and then Bowen and Ben Rama can support Kudus, or we can ping it out to Ben Rama or Bowen, and then they've got an option for Kudus, because we know that he's not going to then straight into someone else's position out wide in the channels. He can go direct, and we can get the ball in the box, round the back of the defenders, and he could be running in. Because we don't do that. We don't hit the bar line and cross it in anymore, because we've got no one in there.
Yeah,
Antonio's
because it's either Antonio's out putting it in, or Antonio's in no man's land anyway. Let's take a quick look at the Brentford lineup though, before we start getting on to predictions. This is interesting. Aaron Hickey is unavailable for the game because he picked up an injury midweek. Their lineup is Flecken, Ayer, Collins, Pinnock, Janelt, Norgard, Onyeka, Jensen. I can't say his name. It's gone now. Embuemo, that's it. There we go. Visa. Oh, Christ, have they signed Neil Mopé? I did not know that. Oh, there we go. Neil Mopé up front. Listen, that front three has all of the quality to cause us problems, especially Embuemo and Visa. And Neil Mopé, I mean, he's just going to pop up and score and not do anything else, really, isn't he? That wouldn't surprise me
at all. 88 minutes.
And then he'll just score.
Turn up and score.
Yeah. What do you make of that, guys?
As expected, we've got. I like Janelt. He's a decent player. Norgard is the one that will hustle and bustle in the middle. He'll kick people about. He's a strong, hard tackler. He moves around the pitch. Jensen is another one of those players that would do the same. And Buemo, he's going to possibly play more wingish.
Yeah, I should think so.
But then he may play centre and be sitting a little bit to pick up the ball in between the lines and drive at people, and then interchange and find himself behind someone at the edge of the box for someone to play him through that through ball. He's a decent player. I like Embuemo, but he's one of those players that you just don't want to play against, because he's a nuisance. Someone that we need.
Yeah. Oh, very good player. That is true. They're a big side. That's what I'll say. They're a big physical side. There's some big lumps there in defensive midfield and centre half wise. So from corners, we need to be up to the task today without Katzuma there. Mavropanos and Agerd will need to step up. Their bench reads Strakosha, Zanka, Godos, Ben-Mi, Rosalev, Yarmiluik. Oh, some of these names. Olaki Jubi, Bieli, and Eddie Doku. I'm not even going to ask you about that, because I think that's incredibly harsh to be honest with you, Curtis. But that is their bench, if any of you were at all interested. And we will move on to some predictions then. Curtis, come on, let's have some optimism.
We're away. I'm going to set up. My heart's telling me win. But my head's telling me draw.
Fair.
So I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
No, I like that. That's the sort of line that I took the other night, is thinking that I think it probably will be a draw, and I'm going to maintain that with the lineup that Moyes has picked. I'm going to go 1-1, a score draw, I think. But maybe I've just got hope in the back of my head that, whenever we have not very much optimism going into a game, we always pop up with a storming performance, and there's just about 20% of my brain that's going, yeah, I can just see us turning up and being quite convincing today. But then when the other sort of 8% of my mind just jumps back in and goes, hang on a minute. But 1-1 I think is a pretty leveled prediction. I'm a little bit more confident the more I've talked about it, which doesn't usually happen, which is quite funny. But look, let's hope for a decent performance today, and if that first team doesn't do it, then we're in trouble, because we ain't getting no help from that bench. Not
more likely to get Bob Hope.
Yeah, exactly, or no hope.
I'm in the same sort of feelings as you, mate. To be honest, we've got to turn up. Has Wednesday given the confidence, or on the flip side of that, has Wednesday took it out of them? And I hope not. I
True.
hope they've still got enough in the tank and reserved and recovered well from the other night. I mean, it didn't look like they were going full steam ahead on Wednesday. It was relatively easy for them as far as an Arsenal side is concerned. So let's hope that they've recovered well, done their homework, switched on from minute one, because we know they can hurt us, and just go out and fight for each other and just play our football. Let Wednesday be a confidence booster.
For sure. Let's take some of your predictions. Pete says, I'm going to go for a negative 2-1 win for Brentford and hope it makes us win. So a little bit of reverse psychology there.
That's the one I thought of when I said my in my heart and my head.
Fair enough.
I've gone for a 2-2 draw.
Terry says, I predicted a humiliating loss on Wednesday. Technically, I was correct. Well, yeah, you did tell me which way the humiliating loss was going to go, but I'll let it slide. I'll let it slide. With that system, Benny will not come back quick enough, and there is a hole for them to press straight down the middle. With the lack of pace from specific players and maybe that lack of creativity there as well, do you think that does leave pockets of space that Brentford could exploit, guys?
100%. Even if we had like Paqueta and stuff like that, they're a good, well-organised, well-oiled, drilled side. Thomas Frank's done amazing over there, to be honest, ever since they've come up from the Championship. And they always know what they're doing. Every individual always knows what their job is asked of them. And I think they are clever and smart players that they'll pick up pockets and find little pockets. You watch them in previous games this season, and sometimes they've torn teams a new one. Even teams that are supposed to be better than them and supposedly the team to get a result, they've turned up and got a draw, like Tottenham 2-2, and other big results for them. Yeah. And of late they've been playing superb. So I expect it, and I expect us to be a bit more tighter and compact and be aware that's what they like to do, and then just try and sniff them out on the counter attack. That's our best hope.
For sure. I mean, yeah, they've had some pretty big scalps so far this season. Obviously beating Chelsea, which isn't a fantastic feat in the current climate of things, which is mildly amusing. But picking up a point against Spurs, which has not been an easy thing to do so far this season. You know, they've given some teams a real good go, and then they've had a few freak results as well. Everton beat them 3-1. They got a point away at Forest, which probably is deemed as not a fantastic result. So they have had a little bit of inconsistency in there, but they are still a very, very good side. To definitely not be underestimated. Peter says under 21s are 1-up at Scousland. Marshall, who else? The lad keeps on going. Another Player of the Month award in the Premier League 2 for him. He just keeps on going. Benny and Bowen drop when the ball is on their side when defending. I'd expect to see that. Norman says 3-1 West Ham. Does anyone know who the ref is today? I don't, but I can find out for you. Hopefully it will say on Google.
Probably like Andre Mariner, or
is he still going? Who knows? But what I do know is that Matey Boy Taylor's been demoted down to the Championship for a weekend, which is mildly amusing. Yeah. Yeah. After the Wolves debacle the other week about the penalty, they chucked him down to the Championship for a weekend.
Is he not the one that we had on Wednesday night as a referee?
Was it? I don't think so.
Is it not? I've seen him recently refereeing the game, and I thought that he should have been suspended for a couple of Premier League games.
The referee is Thomas Bramall. I've never heard of him.
Who?
That's another crap ref. We've got Thomas Bramall is the referee at the GTEC Community Stadium. I've even just looked at him on a picture, and yeah, I don't recognise the bloke. To be honest with you, I wouldn't mess with him.
They probably swapped one with the Championship, and then Taylor's gone down to Championship. And we took one of theirs.
Yeah. So we've got the Championship referee. Brilliant. Typical.
Probably better, really.
Probably better. Yeah.
It is more physical. It's more the lower down the leagues you get, it's harder because it's more physical. It's fast paced. And I think you have to be a good referee to referee at that level. Yeah.
Daniela put it in the chat as well. I did Google it, but yeah, Thomas Bramall, the referee. So I did get that right. So
do you know who's in the VAR or anything yet?
Oh, I don't know whether you can tell on here or not. I'm not too sure. It doesn't say here, but I'm sure on the Premier League website it would. I don't know. It's not Jared Gillett. That's one thing I do know, because he was on the Fulham game. He was the geezer that didn't do us too many favours at Chelsea away, if that rings a bell to anyone.
But he's
So
over in West London at the minute, though, so he could always go over to Brentford.
true.
Oh no, it's at Stockley Park, though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, of course. They sit 100 miles down the road wherever Stockley Park is, don't they? Of course, of course. Right, the referee. We know who the referee is, and it doesn't tell me who the VAR is. That's helpful, isn't it?
That could be another big one. Like you could have like Mike Dean or someone in the VAR room, and then you know that we're not getting nothing.
No, absolutely not. No, there is nowhere that I can find that. Oh yeah. Oh no, it just says the referee, Thomas Bramall, but nothing about the VAR. Somebody will find out. I just can't. Man United scored in added time. That's typical, isn't it? Absolutely typical. So Bruno Fernandes scored to give them all 3 points at Craven Cottage. Brilliant. Lovely. Right. So we've done predictions, we've done everything else. Thank you very much indeed for watching. We are, 23 minutes away from kickoff at the GTech Community Stadium. So enjoy the game. We'll see you back here just before 5 o'clock for the live match reaction, where hopefully we are all smiles here. For some final thoughts, Curtis?
I echo your comment about 10 minutes ago. The longer we've spoke about this, the more confident and exciting I'm getting.
Yeah.
So good lineup, good personnel choice. Glad Moyes has recognised he hasn't changed the winning team, barring a few players that can't be played for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And the job that he's done in picking the replacements is fantastic. Now I hope he's got them ready. I hope he's mentally prepared them, and every man knows what their job is.
Yeah.
And we go out there and play our football, whether it's sitting back and countering them. But if we do that, we've got to be strong in defence, and defensively, that next bank of four needs to be solid, and we've got to have a creative idea. So hopefully, get the ball to Mohamed Kudus, get the ball out wide, let them run at people. Ben Rama, I hope he's on it against his old team, and let's go and pick up them 3 points. If not, a point I'd be happy with.
Yeah, I echo every word. I snatch a handoff for a point now, but I'm going to be absolutely buzzing at 10-5 when I come on in if we've picked up all three going into, let's say, if we win this today, a very winnable game at home to Nottingham Forest next Sunday. And then if we win that into an international break, and we're all happy again. Football's a funny game. We were all down in the dumps just a few days ago, but a win all of a sudden has got the confidence up, and we're probably a little bit more confident than we should be going into this game. But it is what it is. Come on, you Irons. Most certainly, the VAR room have several takeaway menus to check whilst the game is going on. So they've got one eye on the chicken chow mein and one eye on the offside, so anything could happen, really. Anything could happen. Lawrence, thank you very much indeed for joining us right at the end, but thank you very much for coming on. It will be what it will be, most certainly, and I expect to see all of you back here on the full-time whistle talking about a West Ham win. Curtis, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Thank you very much for the invite.
From us, come on, you Irons, and we will see you a little bit later on. Just Moyes, set them up right, and just, yeah, come on, West Ham. Let's do this. Oh, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Irons.